I am Elle Penelope, author of epic fantasy and paranormal romance, and welcome to my Imaginary Friends, a look behind the scenes of an author mapping the worlds in my head and making them a reality. Hello, friends. Today is Friday, March 13th, Friday the 13th, 2020, and this is episode 59 of my Imaginary Friends. I'm Leslie. So this week's best thing. When this podcast goes out, it will be March 16th, and it will be the release day for Hush of Storm and Sorrow, my novella in the Earthsinger Chronicles. Technically book 2.5, and it's a story that I really love. It's the only novella that, it's the first novella that I had the idea for when I decided to do novellas. And I was like, oh, there's this thing that happens, and there's no time for it in book 3, so I will do a whole novella just to explain what happened 2 years ago. And I was really excited about it. And then I came up with ideas for the other novellas. But this was like the core one. And yeah, it's out today. If you have, it can be read as a prequel to the whole series because it does happen 2 years before everything. And it's not like the other novella, which was part epilogue, part prequel, part just weirdness. But it's still hard to market and talk about. So I just think of it as for like people who are really interested in the series and want to know more about the characters and how they got there. And you're introduced to a character you meet in book 3, which comes out in August, and I'm super excited about it. My writing update. I sent Acts 1 and 2 to my agent and my critique partners. And one of my critique partners, Nikisha, she's like, so this is Acts 1 and 2. There's more? Because it's like 120,000 words. And I'm like, yeah, I'm working on Act 3. So Act 3, what is my approach? So Act 3 was maybe 8 scenes, not even fast draft. There were like a paragraph or 2 in each scene. So I was calling it a 0 draft. And it was barely even that. So it was something like 3,000 to 4,000 words that I had written as I came into my quote-unquote revision of Act 3, which is a complete rewrite and reconceptualization. But I had just read Acts 1 and 2, so I had ideas. And so what I did to begin was to review the synopsis that I had, because I had originally written out a very detailed 14-page synopsis of this whole book. And obviously those things have changed, and maybe some of those things I wasn't excited about, but I reread it. And I started just sketching out each scene based on the freshness in my head from the beginning of the book. And so reworking the scenes, thinking about, where the characters were on their journey and what makes sense. And so I came up with about a paragraph on each scene of the new, like basically starting from scratch on Act 3. I went back through my index cards and just refreshing myself on, okay, the things I still need to address. Where'd that dog go? Are these characters going to be wrapped up? Their storylines and things. And there are a lot of index cards that I have that I am just not going to be able to address. Either I really don't need to, or I should have been doing it all along and I completely missed the boat, so it's too late to do it in Act 3. You're not going to introduce new things. And then some things that could be wrapped up, but just probably won't be. I'm trying to leave a few threads. Not that I intend to come back to the series, but you never know. Like things hit you and you're like, wow. And I always wanted to have a few threads of possibilities for the future, or just things people can think about. But some of these index cards are not that. Some of them are just like, don't really have time for that, so we're not going to deal with it. And I don't know that anybody will notice. These are just things that I see, that I know that maybe I was interested in, maybe I was less interested in them, but at least I noticed them, and I made a note so that I could think about it some more in the future. And now is the future, and I've thought about it, and it's not going to happen. And then the next step was fast drafts of the final scenes that I had previously outlined and sketched out. And so yesterday I finished the fast drafting of the bulk of it. So I'm not going to do the resolution until the very end. But the big, there's a big battle in Act 3. And the big character arcs are supposed to be resolved. And then it's sort of like just resolution tying up threads, not epilogue stuff, but I don't know what a good metaphor is for this. So last week's episode I called Landing the Plane. I guess the resolution stuff is you're on the ground now. Take off your seatbelt, gather your things, get into the aisle and leave. That's what the resolution is. And that's going to depend on how the bulk of Act 3 actually ends up once I polish it. So I'm not even going to fast draft that until I finish polishing the bulk. It is interesting doing it this way because there are things that I literally discovered yesterday as I was fast drafting. Fast drafting involves a lot of pantsing. So I come into it with, 3 sentences about what happens. I might know I might have planned the story beats, but I might not have planned the story beats. The beats are the desire, the inciting incident, progressive complications, turning point, crisis, climax, resolution of the scene. I haven't actually been writing those down for the past couple of days. Like, it depends on how and I probably will actually, now that I'm going back into polish, do that because these scenes are insane. There's a lot of shark jumping. There's a lot of hand wavium going on. And hand wavium is kind of like, oh, now the magic is going to do that. And we're not going to pay attention to how it happens or the logic that I've carefully developed over the past 3 books. It just does this now. I think I've talked about writing myself into corners before, and I do feel like I've done that. In a way. In another way, like, this is always the way it had to be. Like, the end of this book, even though I didn't know the mechanics of it, I knew what had to happen since I finished book 1. The mechanics are still in flux as of today. And the thing is, I know that my subconscious has figured these things out, but my subconscious has the roadmap. I haven't quite gotten there yet. And it's still coming. Like I said yesterday, I discovered something. I'm like, oh, wait, what? That's why I did that. Okay, that makes sense. So I think I had written a scene last week where I was like, I'm not sure if this scene is working. I'm not sure if I need this or am I doing something really crazy? But yesterday I was like, oh no, that's why you did that. That works. So trusting myself and my subconscious, intuition, whatever it is that's back there that is not part of my conscious mind is really important. I think it's important as a writer in general. But yeah, no matter how carefully I plotted this, I guess it's still something feeling off and I haven't quite locked into that thing. Like endings are supposed to be surprising but inevitable. And one of the things I discovered yesterday was actually surprising but inevitable. And that's just, it's, even amidst all of this turmoil, I'm feeling so grateful and inspired by that thing that happens, that magical-esque muse thing that makes the things that you wrote 2 years ago and 2 weeks ago that you didn't even know why it was there, but it comes full circle and it comes together. So I'm in the middle of that process. And the process has worked for me before. I do trust it, but because I'm in the middle of it, I still feel very insecure about it. So the next steps are to clean and polish those scenes and then get to the resolution. I'm excited about it. I'm scared about it. All of these emotions are happening. Friend of the show, Jeffe Kennedy, has a great blog post on SFF7, which is a group blog that she's a part of, and it's called When Writer's Block Means to Dig Deeper. And it's about the most difficult scene you ever wrote and why. And she talks about how when writers hit what they call writer's block, a lot of times the advice is that when you're hitting that stopping point, it means that you've done something wrong and that you have to go back and rework things. Which is actually something I agree with, and she does not agree with. So I thought it'd be interesting to contrast, because I think our interpretations of it are different. So what Jeffe is saying is that, I think her interpretation is that it means that this advice means that you should walk away from something that is difficult in the writing. That, the idea that when you hit a block and it's a difficult part, her advice is to push through and to keep going, because she sees it as walking away from a hard part and looking for an easier path forward. I interpret this differently. For me, if I say that I hit writer's block, it means I've done something wrong. It's not that I'm trying to find an easier path. It's that something has ground to a halt in the story. Something in on the page, in the story, is I really do feel like it's just not the right path. It's not that it's too difficult or that it's something that I'm trying to avoid. It's more that the character shouldn't be doing this. It's not part of the arc. I'm trying to force a square peg in a round hole because I want this thing to happen as the author, and the characters are not going in that direction because it's unnatural, it's not organic, it will feel forced if I go through that. And so when I hit those stopping places, and it's a lot about intuition, kind of knowing, which she does talk about. You do have to learn what it means. Sometimes this block is a character that you're trying to push into the wrong direction, or a plot line that you're trying to force. And, sometimes it is depression, sometimes it is laziness and procrastination. Sometimes I'm sure it is, this is too hard to write, I'm going to do something else. And I agree with her that that is an impulse that writers should quell. But I just, for me, when I go through these times and it's like everything is going well and then I hit a stopping point, the stopping point is generally telling me something that I need to hear. It's kind of like in rock climbing. I'm gonna use a rock climbing metaphor. Is that irritating? I don't know. But if I'm climbing a route and I hit a hard part, I could try to push through, muscle through, and in the past that has led to injuries. Not even my wrists really, but I'm sure that was part of it. But early in my climbing career, I was in a corner. So imagine a corner and there's holds on each side. So I've got legs on each side, arms on each side, and I'm in this weird pretzel position and I push through. I'm strong enough to do this. I can just push my way. And I push and my back goes, and I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. And I did some unspecified injury. I didn't even bother going to the doctor. It wasn't like hobbling, but it meant I could not climb corners for like a year and a half. Because every time I would get into one, I would turn, I would feel this place in my back where I had done something bad. Because I just pushed through. And whereas what I should have done, what I do now, is okay, something's hard. I can't figure this out. I've come to a stopping place. I need to evaluate, maybe go back a little bit, climb down, look, am I in the wrong position? Should I be to the left when I should, am I on the left when I should be to the right? Where are the holds? What are the alternate options for the way forward? And I evaluate, I look through them, and I try to do something that is not going to hurt me. And that's kind of how I think about writer's block, where you're going along, everything's fine, and then whoop, something's not right anymore. You have to figure out what that is. Maybe it does mean going the way you were going. You evaluate and you're like, oh, okay, I can do that. If I just reach, if I reposition slightly, then, if I bend my knee, then my shoulder goes up and I can actually reach. I get 2 extra inches and I can reach that thing I didn't think I could reach. But it does require taking a step back. And so, yeah, ultimately, I think her post is really great. And it's just, I think, like I said, a different interpretation. She also links to a post by Kelly Robson about the monkey pass, which I thought was also really great. And I will link to both of these things in the show notes. Because taking the easy way out is not the way forward. That's not what this is about. And I don't think that some people do. I was going to say, I don't think people become authors to make things easy for themselves. But there's a whole school of people who actually do. So I will rewind that. But yeah, great post. Also in database news, are we doing database news? Is that what this is about? I have made an adjustment to my project management that has really changed the game for me. And I do want to do something, maybe a video, maybe like a video tutorial on how I manage projects. Because, so this thing that changed is adding start dates. I've gone through a lot of different project management systems, different apps and programs and planners and just ways to organize my time, because I run a business and I have my author business and just normal life, and it can get hectic. I feel like I have 2 full-time jobs slash 2 part-time jobs. I don't know. I don't know what my time is like anymore. But adding start dates. So I'm using a program called ClickUp. It's clickup.com, and it's for project management. And once I started listing my tasks, so what I do is I create my projects, whether it's a client project or like an author thing, like publishing Hush of Storm and Sorrow. I had a whole project for that. It included the writing and revision and the dates that I wanted to hit, sending it to the proofreader, how long I thought that she would have it, what I would have to do when I get it back from her, doing the pre-order, uploading it to the retailers, blah, blah, blah. So for instance, uploading to the retailers, which I did last week, I set a start date and an end date. So the actual uploading only takes half an hour or so, to go to Amazon, Draft2Digital, Publish Drive. It's copying and pasting the description and the keywords and all of that and just uploading the files. But if I knew that I wanted to get it done by a certain day, having a start date gives me a range so that I can just better utilize my time. So I was saying between Monday and Friday, I'm going to upload the book to the retailers, as opposed to just saying it's due Friday and that's it. Because when things are just due, it'll be like Thursday and I'm like, oh, that's due tomorrow. I better rush and do it. And then that can mess up my whole Thursday. Whereas if I know on Monday, okay, sometime over this week, I'm going to be uploading them. And each day I'll evaluate everything else I have to do and the range of time and the due dates for those things. And then I can create a plan for each day with the priorities. And so I use this ClickUp app to input all the projects and tasks and put the dates in. And then they have different views. And I have a view for today. So I go to today and I see everything I'm supposed to be working on and everything that crosses today. Some things are going to be due today, some are due tomorrow, some are due next week. So I look at my day view and then I look at my week view to get a bigger picture of what else is happening. And, I take into account appointments, meetings, things like that, and then priorities. Then I go into my paper planner and do a daily schedule. So based on these things, when these things are due, today I will accomplish X, Y, and Z. I have a list for that, and then I do the time blocking. So from 6 to 9, I will be writing, and then from 9 to 9:30, I'll eat breakfast. 9:30 to 10:30, I will check my email and take care of any immediate tasks or things that I can do quickly. 10:30 to 12:30, I will do a deep focus work session on this project, and then it goes on like that. So I time block my day. One thing I still am not good at is including flex time for things that come up, whether it's, oh, here's an article I want to read. I don't have time in my day scheduled for reading articles, and not just random web stuff, but oh, here's this new coronavirus article that I really want to stay up to date on. But overall, time blocking / time blocking, whatever you want to call it, really works for me. So just that simple thing of adding a start date and then being able to see in this app everything spread out. It's changed the game for me, and I'm really enjoying it, and I'm enjoying my planning more, and I feel like I'm being more effective and actually getting more things done when they're supposed to be done and not rushing around at the last minute because all I had was a due date and I didn't plan well enough when I was going to get that thing done. So that is my tip for you, dear listener. Start dates, change the game. And ClickUp is free. I'm using the free version. The only thing that I'm sort of tempted to pay for, because in order to get the Gantt charts, I would need to move to the paid version. And I am a big fan of Gantt charts. For a long time, I used Smartsheet, both for my web business and my author business, or my publication schedule. I would do a Gantt chart. And I do miss my Gantt charts. I just, like I said, I've used a lot of apps. I've used Smartsheet. I've tried to use Notion for project planning, and I like it better for other things. I tried Asana. I've used Basecamp. I can't even remember all of the different things. I've gone just simple spreadsheets. Over the course of, having my business for 17 years, I've used all kinds of tools. And so right now, ClickUp is really working well. So yeah, I hopefully I'll do a video on that, just how I use it. And if it helps anyone, that would be great. And speaking of videos, I still am going to do the video I talked about a few weeks ago on author publication databases using Notion. I have discovered Marie Poulin, who is this Notion aficionado. And so right now I'm just doing more research about better ways to use Notion. I discovered I can do relational databases inside of this app. And so Notion is not really that similar to ClickUp. They've got some overlap, but the interface is different enough. And I think just the way they approach data and data organization and design is different. So I still feel like Notion is the right tool for this task. And so I'm just digging deeper, trying to get more information about the best ways to set up the database. And then I will still do that. Because I have this kind of test publications database that I've been using. And as I'm publishing this new novella, it's been really helpful. And so I'm still working out the kinks and trying to figure out the best kind of design for it. And then I will definitely do that video sometime soon. So if you're interested, please stay tuned. Organization and databases make me so happy. I'm such a nerd. What can I say? But that is it for me for this week. I hope that you have a wonderful week. I hope that you are staying safe and washing your hands. I will put a link in the show notes to this really great hand cream. I stocked up on it like a week and a half ago. I had first gotten it at the Maryland Renaissance Fair. So it's like, I think it's beeswax and lavender. It was at the honey store at the Ren Fair. And so it's these little tubes of hand cream. And so since, everyone's washing their hands for like a million years, every 5 minutes, my hands have been so dry. But this hand cream is great. And if anyone wants to stock up on it. My husband also makes shea butter at home. Like, since our dog has all these skin issues and our niece had eczema, he was like, I'm going to make my own shea butter. And so I do use his shea butter. It's actually really great. And he has all these different formulas. He does not write down his formulas. So if I like a version, like a batch, and I'm like, can you make this again? He's like, sure. And then it comes out completely different. It's always nice though. But it tends to be hard to travel with because, for various reasons. So hand cream is also good. So I cannot link to my husband's shea butter, but invest in a quality hand cream during these trying times. But I do hope everyone is staying safe and healthy and weathering the storm as best you can. Oh, the survey is still going on. So please, podcast listeners, go to lpenelope.com/survey and tell me about yourself so that I will know. I really appreciate it. For episode show notes and to sign up for the Footnotes newsletter, go to myimaginaryfriendsshow.com. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and if you're a visual learner, check out the video episodes on YouTube. I would really love a rating or review to help support the show. And My Imaginary Friends is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. For more fantastic podcasts, go to frolic.media/podcasts.